On the news, Vice President Shettima and others arrived London to receive Buhari's body ahead of burial, slated for Tuesday, July 15, 2025. Tinubu hails Buhari's legacy, describes him as a national hero, while federal government declares Tuesday, July 15 a public holiday in honor of late Buhari. Nigeria's House of Representatives panel invites Foreign Affairs Minister Tuga over new U.S. visa restrictions for Nigerians. Joining news now on TV360 Nigeria, I am Sibisola Achukwu. The death of former President Muhammadu Buhari continues to dominate national and international headlines, and as part of official arrangements, Vice President Kashim Shettima and Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila have arrived in London to receive the late leader's remains. Both officials are leading Nigeria's official delegation following a directive from President Bola Tinubu to oversee arrangements for Buhari's repatriation and burial. Meanwhile, the Vice President has met and condoled with the family of the late Buhari in London as they await the conclusion of procedures and documentation for the return of the late former president.
At the instance of President Bola Tinubu to come and fiercely identify with the family in this period of grief, it's not a loss to the family alone, but to the entire nation. And the president was personally grieved, was personally touched. He said it's one of us. That was the exact word he used. May Allah grant the soul of our patriarch, our other eternal race, and reward him with his Al-Jannah Firdaus. And may Allah also give the family, the government and people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss. It was an institution that has sought the lives of each and every one of us here. Words cannot adequately capture the depth of our grief. Once again, on behalf of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, please accept our heartfelt condolences.
Your Excellency, I'm grateful to all of you for coming to commiserate with us on the death of Muhammad Buhari. I spoke to the President yesterday and he told me the same thing as you.
In the meantime, Governor of Katsina State, Diko Rada, has announced the burial arrangements for Nigeria's past President Muhammadu Buhari following consultations with the late president's family and close associates in London. At a press briefing on Monday, Rada announced that the remains of former President Buhari will arrive in Katsina on Tuesday, July 15, 2025 by noon, while the burial will take place in Daura, the late president's hometown, at 2 p.m. on the same day.
I wish to announce the burial arrangement for our father, the late President Muhammad Buhari, who passed out yesterday in a hospital in London. And we have made consultation with the family, and we have made consultation with the people around him in London. And we concluded that the body will arrive Katsina tomorrow, inshallah, by about 12 noon, and the burial is going to take place in Daura about 2 p.m. So these are the arrangements in place, and we pray to Almighty Allah to grant his soul peace, and may Allah grant him Al-Jannah Firdaus. And may Allah bring them to Katsina in peace. And on behalf of myself and the government and the people of Katsina State, we condole the family, and we also condole the people of Nigeria. Especially, we also want to condole His Excellency the President and Commander-in-Chief of Armed Forces of Nigeria over the demise of his predecessor.
President Bola Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow over the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari, describing him as a patriot whose legacy will endure. Tinubu said Buhari's service and sacrifice to the nation will remain etched in the nation's collective memory. In the meantime, the federal government has declared Tuesday, July 15, 2025, as a public holiday to honor the late Muhammadu Buhari. According to a statement issued by the Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, the holiday is in furtherance to the 7 days of national mourning declared by President Bola Tinubu. Following the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari on July 13, 2025, Nigerians are reflecting on his leadership, its impact, challenges, and its place in history. His years in office, both as a military ruler and a civilian president, mark significant chapters in the country's development. In the aftermath of his death, TV360 Nigeria spoke to residents in Lagos to understand how he is being remembered. Their responses reveal a range of perspectives on his life, his time in office, and the legacy he leaves behind.
They're no more than me. They are father to us. They're no more than me. I'm a baby to them. So they're no more than me. He tried, the man tried.
In summary, my own view, his military regime seems to be somehow okay than this civilian regime. At first, we thought his civilian regime will display some elements of his military background. But at the end of the day, we realize he becomes so slow in taking decisions and insecurity gets skyrocketed. We never expect a military man not to be able to handle security issues to an extent. And at the tail end of his administration, the level of corruption become unbearable. And if I should talk based on this point I raised, I don't think his regime is that okay. From my own scoring, it's not that okay.
Talking about our late Muhammadu Buhari, may his soul rest in perfect peace. He has done his best because there's nobody on the island. You do your best and you leave the rest. To me, his performance, I can say 90%, because as a president, that seat is not something someone can say is easy. But I believe he has done his best, and may Allah forgive all his past.
During the military regime, the people think he's a dictator, but it was Idi Agbon that was ruling that time. So most of the things were done by Idi Agbon. But I believe he tried his best. I think they gave him more time, because they didn't spend almost up to 2 years, I think 1.5 years, before they were overthrown by Babangida. I believe that time they were doing, but this time around this civilian regime, he really disappointed a lot of people. Things didn't go well as we expected from him. I think he was weak. It was from Kabah that were controlling him. The Buhari that I know, he's a very strict human being. A lot of things went wrong when he's reality. But I believe he's a very simple human being. And he tried. It's not easy to rule Nigeria. That's the mistake people are making. To rule Nigeria is not easy. Pressure, a lot of frustration, what do I even call it? Sabotage from every angle. But all the same, he has tried.
In honor of the late Muhammadu Buhari, Nigeria's National Assembly has suspended legislative activities until Tuesday, July 22, 2025. The leadership of both chambers extended condolences to the government and citizens, the government and people of Katsina State, as well as the late president's wives, children, and extended family. In other stories, Nigeria's House of Representatives Committee on Foreign Affairs has invited the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, to address several pressing concerns, including the recent change in U.S. visa policy affecting Nigerians. Also on the agenda are allegations of the illegal posting of directors to foreign missions despite having less than 3 to 6 months until retirement, and issues related to the management and optimization of the Ministry of Finance assets at Nigeria's foreign missions. In a letter dated July 11 and addressed to Tuga, the committee chairman, Wale Oke, outlined additional areas of concern. Tuga has been asked to submit a detailed briefing note by July 15 ahead of his scheduled appearance before the committee on July 16. We'll take a short break. Coming up in the news, Cameroon's 92-year-old president, Paul Biya, announces bid for an 8th term. We'll give you details when News Now returns.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
Wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the GoTo app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other People Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Brief you on the main stories. Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima and Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajamiamila have arrived in London to receive the remains of former President Muhammadu Buhari following a directive from President Bola Tinubu to oversee arrangements for Buhari's repatriation and burial. We also told you that Governor of Katsina State, Diko Rada, has announced the burial plans for former President Muhammadu Buhari following consultations with his family and close associates in London. Buhari's remains will arrive in Katsina by noon on Tuesday, July 15, 2025, and he will be buried in his hometown of Daura in Katsina State at 2 p.m. the same day. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on X, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're TV360 Online.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
When you go into public office, you must be ready to answer to the people.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On Digi 360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
Digi 360, dissecting the issues.
As reactions continue to trail the death of former President Muhammadu Buhari, many are reflecting on the decades-long influence he held over the nation's political and military landscape, from his days as a military ruler in the 1980s to his return as a democratically elected president in 2015. Buhari remained a central figure in Nigeria's evolving national story. His passing has sparked nationwide reflection on his legacy and the chapters of history he helped shape. Victoria Konde completes this report.
Born on December 17, 1942 in Daura, Katsina State, Muhammadu Buhari rose from humble beginnings to become one of Nigeria's most prominent and influential leaders. He first came to national prominence in 1983 when he seized power as a military head of state following a coup that toppled the civilian government of President Shehu Shagari. His regime, though short-lived, was marked by a strict anti-corruption stance and a reputation for discipline, policies that earned him both praise and criticism.
If you look at it, when Buhari came on board in 31st of December 1983, after that coup, whereby he started his administration in 1984. One of the pivotal of his administration at that period was the fact that they came up with what was called war against indiscipline, because they believed that there were a lot of corruption during the civilian regime of the Second Republic. So part of the issues in which they seriously tackled at that moment was the fact that they want to end corruption. So in 1979, that ushered in the Second Republic, a lot of people believed that there was a lot of corruption, there was a lot of abuse of power, and there was a lot of loose end in the way administration was being conducted in Nigeria at that time. So those were part of the reasons. So those were part of the reason that they adduced when they took over.
In 2015, 3 decades after his military rule, Buhari made a historic return to power, this time through the ballot box, becoming the first opposition candidate in Nigeria's history to defeat a sitting president.
I still remember very much in 2011, I interviewed Buhari at the Supreme Court after the judgment, whereby he lost to President Goodluck Jonathan at that period. And he told me, I was the first to interview when he came out of the court at the Supreme Court in Abuja. He said he wasn't contesting again. He said, I will never contest again in Nigeria. And so when the present president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, talked about it, that Buhari vowed to him that he wasn't contesting anymore, I told people, I said, look, he said that also. I can still remember very much. So in 2015, as a result of the coalition that later formed to become APC, and they won, and he became the president.
Buhari was re-elected in 2019, serving 2 consecutive terms, marked by both notable achievements and widespread challenges, including economic downturns, rising insecurity, and public outcry over governance issues. His government focused heavily on security, especially against insurgents, but widespread violence, kidnappings, and banditry continued, leading many to question the effectiveness of his approach.
Of course, on the negative side, there are a lot of people who castigated him for the Naira redesign policy of Emefiele shortly before election. The Naira redesign forced many of us to adapt to cashless policy. Remember that even in his first term, when he was military head of state, he also introduced the Naira redesign at that time, where many people lost their money. So he did it both during his head of state stewardship and also during his presidency.
One of the challenges that the Buhari administration had at that period was the fact that if Buhari gives an instruction for things to be done, it doesn't follow up. That was why when you see the insecurity that bedeviled Benue State at that period, whereby he directed the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, to relocate to Benue, he never did. He was so surprised that at a point in time, when Buhari was confronted, he said, I didn't know that he didn't go. I mean, how can you give an instruction to a subordinate and the subordinate did not carry out the instruction to the latter? Definitely that is insubordination. So, and those were part of the issues that some of the cabals that worked with Buhari created.
Buhari's time in office is marked by pivotal moments that expose deep tensions in governance, the economy and Nigerian populace, particularly the youth. Few episodes which capture this more clearly includes the EndSARS protests, the Twitter ban, the transition of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) into a limited liability company, and the controversial Naira redesign policy. These moments form a critical part of Buhari's legacy, a presidency defined by ambitious reforms and controversial crackdowns.
In terms of law, he signed two constitutional alterations into law, one in 2018 and one in 2023. In 2018, remember, the Not Too Young to Run law was signed. It was one that signed it, where there was age reduction for certain categories of political offices like president. Before then, if you have to run for presidential seat, you have to be 40 years and above. That was reduced to 35.
Despite polarizing opinions about his leadership, Buhari maintained a loyal support base and left an indelible mark on Nigeria's political landscape. His supporters will hail his focus on massive infrastructure development like the expansion of the country's railways, airports, federal highways and bridges, anti-graft efforts and agricultural reforms. But his critics will point to concerns about human rights and national unity. The late Buhari remains a symbol of resilience and continuity in Nigeria's turbulent political journey. His passing marks the end of an era, but the debates, memories and impact of his time in power will continue to shape national discourse for years to come. Victoria Akonde, TV360 News, Lagos.
Business News, Joy Uche Jim has the latest. Joy.
The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, has issued a stark warning that the world must urgently ramp up investments in upstream oil development or risk facing a global energy crisis in the coming decades. In its newly released 2025 World Oil Outlook, OPEC projected that a cumulative $14.9 trillion will be required between 2025 and 2050 to meet rising oil demand and maintain energy security. This translates to $574 billion annually, dedicated primarily to upstream oil exploration and production. We'll take a short break and return with stock market reports. Welcome back. The bulls are holding strong on the Nigerian exchange this week, continuing their upward momentum. The market kicked off on a positive note, gaining 0.43%, with the market cap at 80.15 trillion naira. Now, today, 129 equities were active on the NGX, with 43 stocks ending in the green and 38 in the red. Leading the pack was Secure Electronic Technology, which saw its share price jump by 10%, closed at 1 naira 10 kobo, followed by Abe Mortgage Bank. Now, by the close of the first trading day this week, a total of over 1.28 billion shares were exchanged across 39,431 deals, amounting to about 32 billion naira in market value. But when you compare this to last Friday, trading volume dipped slightly by 7%, but turnover was up by 5% and the number of deals climbed by 18%. So while activity slowed a bit in volume, investors were clearly making more moves. Now on the foreign scene, it's a mixed bag. Wall Street had a choppy Monday as investors seemed unfazed by yet another round of tariff threats, leaving two of our indices to close in the red while the UK's FTSE closed in the greens. Meanwhile, in the forex market, the naira held its ground. It traded at 1,550 naira to the US dollar, 2,155 naira to the pound, and 1,810 naira to the euro, showing resilience despite ongoing economic headwinds. And that's your business and stock market update. Simi, over to you for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Joy. On the foreign scene, Cameroon's long-serving president, Paul Biya, has announced his intention to seek an 8th term in the upcoming October 2025 presidential election, aiming to extend his 43-year rule. In a post on X, the 92-year-old leader said his decision to run again follows numerous and insistent calls from citizens across Cameroon's regions and the diaspora. Biya's administration has faced widespread criticism over corruption, embezzlement, poor governance, and a failure to effectively address the country's security challenges. Concerns about his health and ability to govern have also persisted. His absence from public view for over 6 weeks last year sparked speculation about his condition and even unfounded rumors of his death. In India, 2 major commercial pilots associations have pushed back against suggestions that pilot error led to the Air India crash that claimed 260 lives following the release of a preliminary investigation report by India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. Despite the absence of a formal conclusion, the revelation has prompted speculation from independent aviation experts that the switches may have been turned off either accidentally or intentionally by the flight crew. In response, pilots' unions strongly rejected what they called premature and unfounded theories and emphasized the need for a comprehensive and impartial investigation before attributing fault. On sports, Nigeria's Super Falcons head coach Justin Madugu has assured citizens that the team will deliver a markedly improved performance when they face Zambia in the quarterfinals of the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Nigeria advanced to the knockout stage as Group B winners despite a lackluster goalless draw in their final group match, a result that raised concerns among fans about the team's form. Speaking further, Madugu acknowledged the team's inconsistency and apologized to supporters, assuring them that the Super Falcons are determined to improve in the next round. Finally, Chelsea midfielder Cole Palmer has been awarded the Golden Ball as the best footballer of the FIFA Club World Cup following a standout tournament capped by a match-winning performance in the final. The 23-year-old, who joined Chelsea from Manchester City 2 years ago, scored twice and provided an assist in the 3-0 victory over Paris Saint-Germain in the final. He also found the net in Chelsea's 2-1 quarter-final win over Palmeiras, finishing the tournament with 3 goals and 1 assist. And that's it on News Now. Many thanks for staying with us. We'll see you again next time.